Coming to you live from the top secret bunker here at Area 52. This is Pastor Mike, and I am online, and I am live. Glad to be back at work. Glad to be doing the things that we're doing here. Not so glad to be talking about some of the things that we're talking about. Because I'll be dead honest with you, these are sobering times. These are times where you just wake up and you realize that things are not good. Things are definitely not good in, number one, in the United States of America. They're not good in Israel. And I will tell you, you can be apathetic about this if you want to, but if they're not good in Israel and they are not good in the United States, then they are not going to be good. Coming soon to a neighborhood near you. They're not going to be good times ahead of us. We are headed into a time where there will be wars and rumors of wars, exactly the way the Bible describes. And I'm going to get into some of that today. We're going to talk about Israel. We're going to talk about genetically modified mosquitoes. And it matters. I'm telling you, it matters. There is a company some people put me onto called Oxitec, and this time it's not American. It stands for the Oxford Insect Technology. It's the snobs at Oxford that we have to worry about. A new graphic that about 4 or 5 of you made me aware of, and I'm looking at it, and you looked at it and you went, does that look like, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, it does, and there's a reason for it. We've got scriptures and all kind of good stuff today, but I want to tell everybody thank you for all of the emails, the tweets, the wishes, I left Pastor Mike alone for a week. That's what I want to thank you for the most. I mean, I really do. I had probably one of the best times deer season this year that I've had in a while, and I always enjoy it. I really like doing that. But I don't know if you follow the tweets or not. I tweet things knowing that they'll go, number one, to the Twitter accounts, number two, they'll go to the website, number three, let's see, 1, 2, 3, they'll go to Facebook, and people on Facebook will go, Pastor Mike, yeah. And my son, Matthew, 16 years old, he is on his way to becoming his own man. And I'm going to warn you right now, if you don't like me talking about the killing of an animal, then turn the volume down for about the next 3 or 4 minutes, because that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. Go. All right. My son Matthew, opening day, we were hunting about 4 hours south of here in southern Missouri, almost close to the Arkansas border. I have an old friend down there that has been in the cattle business for several years down there. He's got land all over the place, and it is the most prime deer place that I've ever been in my life. And he showed us around on Friday, took me in his cattle truck, and we rode all over the Great Plain, about 250 acres that he owns on this particular farm. It was an old dairy farm. I have some funny video. I don't have it prepared for today, but I have some funny video along with a funny story about me that I will probably, I may get to it next week. I don't know. But anyway, he showed me the prime spots. This time of year, deer are going to be doing several things. This time of year in Missouri, when the cold weather moves in, male deer go into what's called the rut. Male deer, they've got one thing only on their brain, and that's it. That's all they think of. And it's like human males, like every day, but they only do it like one time a year. And so the two best spots were next to an alfalfa field, and my strategy is to put my son and my son-in-law on the two best spots. And I just kind of hunt off out of their way over in the distance, and it paid off. My son Matthew, he saw a doe come out into the field, And he knew that they were in full rut. The bucks were in full rut. The doe were in what's called estrus. I don't have to explain this, do I? Anyway, so the doe runs out onto the field first. My son knows that if you want to kill a buck, when you see the doe run across, you wait. So here comes buck number 1 and buck number 2, and he's shooting away, and I see them running all over the place. And then buck number 3 comes out. He shoots at it. It goes back into the woods, turns around, and comes back, because bucks have one thing in their brain. And he ran back out, and it was a good, clean shot. And for the very first time, now this is a very large deer. I mean, it is big. This is a 14 point. Some people don't know what that is. That means there are 14 points on its horns. And you don't get those being a 2-year-old deer. You get those by being a very old, very wise, very strong, very big deer. And he dropped it right there. And then it was his first time to, there's other terms for it. I will use the term field dress the deer. It was his first time. And we bought little rubber gloves, and he's got rubber gloves on, and he is going, oh, oh, ah, ah. But he's on his way to manhood. And I probably, Monday, I put up probably 70 packages of ground deer into our freezer. Along with steaks and tenderloin and backstrap. Those are the prime cuts of the deer. It's just like the tenderloin on a beef or a pork tenderloin. It's just amazing. And so anyway, we have a freezer full, and he's going to get a trophy out of it. And Dad, people ask me, well, you didn't get a deer. I mean, you know, I had 200 pounds of son's deer to deal with. I didn't need my own. Anyway, but I appreciate everybody praying for Sweetie Pie. She had her surgery on Tuesday. She got out of the hospital on Woden's Day. She is recovering at home. It's going to be a while. And fortunately for her, she doesn't have to pick up anything that's over or exceeds 5 pounds in the house for the next 6 weeks. So guess who gets to do all of that for her? That's why I still have 2 kids living at home. They're going to pick up all the things that are over 5 pounds. But I appreciate everybody praying for her, and please keep her in your prayers. Let's deal with some things that are going on right now that have caught my interest. Things going on inside of Jerusalem, or not Jerusalem, Tel Aviv right now. Tel Aviv is actually in the Bible. Tel Aviv, I think is how it's spelled in the King James. 2 booms heard in Tel Aviv following warning siren. 2 explosions were heard in Tel Aviv following an air raid siren Thursday evening. There were no reports of injuries or damage at the time of this report. It is an ongoing thing. Where is here's my other story to go along with this. This is from theblaze.com. This is what I think is interesting, because I saw this, I think it was yesterday or the day before something. I saw that when this first started going on, I noticed that and in case you haven't been following the news, here's what's been going on. Netanyahu said, we've had it up to here. We've had it up to here. We are going to defend our land. We are going to defend our territory. We are going to defend and protect our people, because we are the ones who are being attacked. Now, if you're just one of these that you have a real big problem with the nation or the state of Israel even existing because of various conspiracy theories or whatever, I want you to put that out of your mind for a minute. These people, they have a right to exist. They have a right to their country. They are, forget all this stuff that you've heard from some dude on the internet that said, they're not really Jews. Us white people are the real Jews. Don't you know that? What's wrong with you? They're like fake Jews. They're not the real ones. Don't believe that. That's a bunch of garbage. And they're not lost tribes, by the way. I don't know who came up with that, but God never said they would be lost. They're not lost. The Israelites have been able to maintain their identity now for 2,000 years since the dispersion. Even going beyond that, since the Assyrian exile, they have been able to maintain their tribal identity. Most of them know who they are. And it's not white, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon Americans and Englands and everybody else. That's not it. That is a racist-based doctrine that basically essentially says only white people can be saved. I've looked into it. I studied it out. I researched it. I found out the roots of it. And I'm telling you, it's garbage. These people have a right to that land because God gave them the land, and God allowed them to go back into that land, I believe, as a predecessor to last days events. Go read the Bible, all right? Instead of reading some YouTube blog or whatever. Go read the Bible. These are people that have a right to defend their property. And they're being attacked constantly and consistently. And Netanyahu said, we have had enough of this, and we're fighting back. Now, here's what's interesting to me. The name of the operation that Netanyahu et al. Have undertaken inside of the land of Israel is called, in fact, I'm going to read this article from The Blaze. In English, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, is calling its effort, launched Wednesday, to strike a blow to Hamas terrorist infrastructure. They call it the Pillar of Defense. But in Hebrew, the operation's name has another deeper biblical meaning. In Hebrew, the IDF named its operation Amud Anan, and that is a pillar of cloud. A clear reference to the flight of the children of Israel from Egypt and how God protected them. I want you to I'm going to open up a fresh can of King James Bible. You can hear it, the seals being broken as we speak. Hey, that's an interesting way to put it. Exodus chapter 14, I want you to turn there. Exodus chapter 14. And then I'm going to parallel this with something that is in the New Testament that I find excruciatingly interesting. In Genesis chapter 14, I've talked on this before, I've preached on it before. It's an outstanding idea of how God deals with his people, how God rescues them, how God saves them, how God does his marvelous acts. Israel has had their back against the wall before, and God has always shown himself to be their Savior. Now, if you want a correct biblical view of the people of Israel, let me give you, and I hope Tex Mars is listening, because if there's anybody out there who is in the conspiracy realm and the quote-unquote the Bible realm, Tex Mars is out there, and he despises the Jews. This man can't stand the Jews, and I don't understand that. If this guy reads the Bible, you ought to read the whole thing. And you need to understand how God sees the Jew, how Christ sees the Jew. That song we were playing before we started, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. This is Jesus sitting out overlooking Jerusalem, and he's weeping over Jerusalem. He's weeping over his people. He knows that he's going to be rejected of them. He knows he's going to be despised of them. He wants to gather them unto himself, and they will have none of it. And he knows that according to the law of God, God has to breach his covenant with Israel. But even in the old covenant, there was the contingency that when Israel broke that covenant, God would regather them together again in the last days and give them a new covenant. We already have that one, by the way. We already have a new covenant. You and I are the beneficiaries of the new covenant. That new covenant awaits Israel. And I want you to, if you want to believe anything about Israel, I will tell you that, number one,